Spring in an English woodland. Everything just coming into life. Listening to the birds, listening to the animals. What could be better? Welcome back to Andin Farm. This week is going to be a little bit different. Yesterday I was very excited and managed to see quite a lot of wildlife. So we're going to go down into the woodland and we're just going to have a look because there's a lot of things starting to come through as harbingers of spring. Always amazes me how well these Snakes Head Fritillaries have done. And if you look inside there, you can see the yellow stamens which will attract the bees. And we've actually got some white seedlings this year as well. So lovely white and green flowers. These are a great early food source for pollinating insects. Although it's quite small, this area of meadow at the top here, it is absolutely rammed with species. Here now in the woodland edge, or the edge of the established woodland with the nursery beyond, and this is a great transition zone for wildlife because we're providing a habitat, and it's a mix really between the existing established woodland and the new woodland that we've created on the other side there, and it's giving wildlife a chance to migrate between the two. And we've definitely noticed over the last few years that we're starting to bring in a lot more by increasing the species range of native plants that we're growing around the nursery. Really exciting at this time of year because everything is just starting to come through, come into flower. Lovely to see is wild common primrose just down at the base here. These are really good for both brimstone and tortoiseshell butterflies. The flowers come from the rosette, from the base of the plant. So up in our wildflower meadow on the other side, we have another British native called a cowslip, which is Primula veris, which sends up a stalk and then a whirl of flowers at the top. But common primrose is this lovely, soft, pale colour. It's a very widely available plant that you can buy in a garden centre and plant in a shady spot in your own garden. There are lots of hybrid varieties that would do similar things, but Primula orchids, the British native, is really great for butterflies and bees. In Irish folklore, having common primrose either side of your door, or at your doorstep, helps to keep fairies away. What is really lovely about some of these older trees is the mosses, because we have had it a lot wetter over the last few years, but there's a fantastic range of moss and algal growth and lichens that are growing on some of these trees. Very, very, very tactile. I get asked quite a lot how I can encourage, or how people can encourage moss to grow in areas. One of the things we've done for clients and gardens is use old stumps and turn them upside down to create stumperies. Nature doesn't stop at your gate, at your fence. Wildlife, if you create the right habitat in your garden, the wildlife that's here naturally in the wood will also then visit you in the garden. The key reason that we try and encourage as much wildlife as we can is because a lot of the small birds and the insects will help to look after the pests for us. Last year, for the last 3 years now, we've had swallows nesting up in the barn, and last year they had a clutch of 5 young, which was fantastic to see. And hopefully they'll be back again later on this summer. Deer in the woods, and there is sign just behind us on the branch where I can see that something's been nibbling. So I suspect that there'll be active deer again through the wood at the moment. Definitely have been hearing things at night. I know we've had owls up and down that we've been listening to at night and at dusk. So it'll be really exciting to see what we can see over the next few months. I always love finding little different exciting things, and to me I've now got a native honeysuckle that's growing from the centre here on the sycamore tree. Although it does look as though the deer or something has had a bit of a nibble on it, but it's reshooting, and it basically will have been a seedling from a bird. It's hatched into the moss, and this is going to provide some lovely, fantastic scented flowers just into the nook, into the centre here. Actually, there's several woodlouse and bits and pieces at the same time. It is really exciting. We've also got a baby ash tree that seeded itself into the centre of the sycamore, into the gap there. This is a lovely low growing native saxifrage, just coming into flower, or just in flower now, tiny little yellow flowers. This forms a little low rosette, which you can just about make out where my fingers are. And these lovely yellow flowers, which are really, really good for bees. That's a low growing British native saxifrage. There's another whole host of bluebells coming just here, which reminds me the orchids will be coming soon. We're very, very lucky in this woodland on the other side there. We've got a small patch of early purple orchid that flowered last year, and yesterday I actually managed to just see the new shoots just starting to come through. So in probably 4 or 5 weeks time, that'll be up and be in flower as well. And again, they're absolutely fantastic for bees. One of the other British native plants that we're constantly taking out of people's gardens for them, this is Lord and Ladies. I was told by one of my old lecturers many, many years ago at college, stinkweed is one of the common names for it. The reason is because the white flowers, or white or yellow flowers that will then come up from this plant, as they mature, the way they pollinate themselves is by giving off a fragrance of rotting meat. And that attracts flies and insects, which then go inside the flower and actually help to pollinate it. And then it'll form a flower spike, and that will then mature and form red berries. So Lords and Ladies, in damp woodland, it will really thrive. And again, it's one of the plants in an ornamental garden we try and avoid. And that's this big leaf, heart-shaped leaf that we're looking at here. Wind-pruned branches that we've just left in a wood pile, but if you come in close you can see some of the fungus that's actually coming. These red cups, which is fantastic, so it's all part as the wood is decomposing. You quite often get these lovely shaped fungus and fungal growth, but also the way the different mosses have colonised the wood as it's starting to decay, creating a lovely nest and habitat there for insects. Over the last few years, this area has really struggled with storms, this area of the woodland. So one of the things that we've been trying to do gradually, as well as planting stands of willow, native willow, to try and help to hold some of the banking together, we've also had various dead hedge sections that we're trying to do to catch some of the silt and encourage growth back to try and stow down the erosion on the slope. Down in the bottom here, we've got Andresi or herb robert, which is the little ferny growth just here. This is going to come with a fantastic pinky red flower, and just at the base of it again we've got this lovely low growing saxifrage. A lot of these spring flowers now, before the leaves come on the trees, is their time. So basically they'll explode into growth and flower early in the season. When the canopy forms on the trees later on in the year, don't really notice them, they'll be overgrown by the other plants. So their season is very intense. Now's the time to get out in the woods and find them and have a look and see what you can find. In a couple of months' time, things will look very different. On one of the next vlogs, we're going to set up a wildlife camera. You can just about make out at the top, right at the very top of the slope there on a birch tree, about 15 foot up the birch, is an owl box that we set up this year, just to see if we can encourage something to actually go in and use it. We know the wood because I've heard them at night. We've been visited by barn owls and tawnies because I've heard them, and it'll be fantastic if we can start to try and capture some of these things so that we can share with you on camera. If you've enjoyed an insight into the woodland this week, then let us know, hit the like button. If you join me again, hopefully over the next few weeks, we're really excited to see what we can capture on the wildlife camera for you. Frequent visitors, both to the woodland and to the nursery, are voles. And if you can just make out this tiny little hole here, so vole hole. You see the cluster of shoots at the base of the tree. All those new shoots have been nibbled back, which again says to me that probably that's been deer grazed.